Okay, so we are going to learn to graph circles today using this equation. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Just for fun, it won't be on your test. This is how it was derived. What they did is they called the center of the circle hk and one point on the circle xy, drew a line, called that the radius, and then created a right triangle where the radius was the hypotenuse. And then all they did was Pythagorean theorem with x minus h and y minus k and r. So you'll see here x minus h squared, that's the base squared, plus the height squared equals r squared. Okay, you do need to memorize this. It's not on any formula chart. It's the standard equation of a circle. And I would go ahead and box that the center is hk. Y'all know the radius, but this is the two pieces of information that you need to be able to graph a circle. So y'all remember graphing y equals mx plus b? Yes. And the point of that was that you have the y-intercept and you have the slope, so you could graph the line. So same idea, except we need the center of the circle and the radius so that we can graph a circle. Okay, so we're going to start with writing the equation from a circle that's already graphed. You want to first find the center and then the radius. So the center, the very center of the circle, right here, you can verify that by making sure that the distance is the same horizontally and vertically. And it is. So the center is 0, 0. And the radius, be careful, look at your scale. This is actually going by 2's. So my radius is actually 8. Okay, so go ahead and write your formula. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And we're going to plug in 0 for h, and 0 for k, and 8 for r. So x minus 0 is just x. Same thing for y. So we can simplify that down to x squared plus y squared equals 64. And that's as far as we can simplify. We can't combine an x squared and a y squared. Okay, number 2, go ahead and locate your center. Yes, indeed. Okay, so our center is at 2, 2. You would check that it's the same distance in all directions. So that distance, it looks like, yeah, I covered up the 2 there, but this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're going by 1s, so we're going from 2 to 6. So the radius is 4. And we're going to plug it in. Go ahead and write your equation so you can be memorizing it. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And we're going to plug in 2 for h and 2 for k. And then I'm going to plug in 4 here. 4 squared is 16. Now, that's as far as we can go because x minus 2, we can't simplify that. Y minus 2, we can't simplify that. So we're finished. So number 3, with a center 0, 0 and a radius 1/3, did you notice what we did for number 1? When we plugged in 0, 0, we just ended up with an x squared plus y squared equation. So if you'd like to memorize that so you don't have to plug in 0, that would be a good idea. And then we're going to plug in the radius and square it. So that means we need to square 1 and 3. 1 squared is 1, 3 squared is 9. Okay, number 4, we have negative signs. Once again, go ahead and write your standard equation, and we're going to plug in -3 for h and -5 for k. So the only thing we can do here is the two negatives make a positive. And then 8 squared is 64. Okay, we're going to do number 5. We just need one example here. The center is at 0, 0, and a point on the circle is 4, -3. They would like us to write the standard equation of the circle like we've been doing. So first things first, make a sketch with our center at 0, 0, and another point at 4, -3. Okay, so they said this point was on the circle, so do your best and just draw a curve. It's just a sketch of what the circle would look like. And so the 0, 0 to 4, -3, what does that represent? What name can I call this? The radius, yes. So, two options. Let's go ahead and put the first option here. To find the length of the radius, I can just find the distance between those 2 points. And the distance formula is still on the board. Go ahead and write it down for your reference before you plug it in. Okay, so we're going to plug in the two x values and then the two y values. So here, x1, y1, x2, y2. So plug in the 4 and the 0, and then the -3 and the 0. So 4 minus 0 is 4. 4 squared, 16. -3 minus 0 is -3. -3 squared, 9. Bring down our square root. 16 plus 9 is 25. The square root of 25 is 5. Okay, so the distance between those 2 points is 5, which means the radius is 5. This is your first option. Another option would be to use Pythagorean theorem. So the radius can be called the hypotenuse if I draw in the base and the height. So I need to calculate the base and the height. Let's do the height first. How far did I go down to get to 4, -3? Be careful, because it's 3. Because it's x over 4 down 3. So look at the y value to go up, down, if you're going up and down the y-axis. All right, and then I went over 4. Now, we would do Pythagorean theorem. You guys don't have to because you have this memorized. This is a 3, 4, 5 triple. One of your Pythagorean triples. Okay, but go ahead and show your work on this because they won't always be triples. So we're taking the base and the height. That's 9 and 16. That's 25. And the square root of 25 is 5. So either way, you're going to get 5 to represent the radius. Two options. Either one is fine. So now they want us to plug in the radius and 0, 0. So x squared plus y squared equals 5 squared, 25. Okay, we're just going to look at 7 and 8. To actually graph the circle, we still need the center and the radius. So the center of x squared plus y squared would be at 0, 0, the origin. And to find the radius, I need to take the square root, because this was r squared. So the radius was 15. The square root of 225. Okay, so pick somewhere to be 0, 0. I'm going to count by 5s because this graph is really small. So we just need to go 15 in all directions. And it's graphed. Okay, for number 8, the center is, now be careful because when you're pulling it out, because there was a negative sign in the formula, here's the formula again, it's going to be the opposite sign. So there's a subtraction sign in the formula, so H is just 3. And then K would be a negative 2, the opposite sign. Okay, the radius would be the square root of 16, which is 4. So let's just plot 3, negative 2 as the center. And we're going to go, oh, I'm going to go off the graph a little bit. That's okay. And then the radius is 4. And then I went off. Ooh, pretty circle. Okay, these are like problem number 5 that we just did. So I think that's all we need. We just really need to practice this.